And we're recording. That's how I do it. We just click record and hopefully the number starts popping up. All right, so Mr. Hansen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And you were the first person, I tell this story all the time, that you were the first MC that I ever met in my entire life when I performed at Ridley's for the first time.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I had the video still.
So was your graduation class, right?
Yes,
yeah,
it was.
Okay.
And that was 1.5 years ago. Okay.
Wow, it's that long ago now, huh? Yeah. I think I said I've been seeing you on the circuit around 1.5 years, so that sounds about right, I guess.
Yep,
yeah.
I've been doing, it was like, well, maybe a little longer, I don't know, like I started when I was 21, and then I'm 23 right now. So it'll be 3 years soon, which is good, right?
Yeah,
like,
so good.
That means I stuck with it.
Yeah.
Because most people in the class just don't do it.
No, very few.
Which is surprising.
Yeah.
I thought that they would stick with it, but.
No, I mean, I think from my original class, there's 2 people who are doing it, maybe.
Who is it? If you remember.
Well, I had a couple classes, so it's kind of hard for me to remember. I think, well, Patricia O'Callahan does it, but not that often.
When did you take the class?
My first class was in the summer of 2014. That was Bill Bushard's basic class. Then he had advanced class at that time. And I took that right
it wasn't
after.
Joel?
Yeah, but then Joel introduced his, which I also took, Joel Fragamani, his class, because it was a different focus. They were both called advanced stand-up comedy, but Joel's went to a lot more of the business side and how to run shows and things like that. And so I did that show.
Did it help? Because you have your own show.
Yeah, it did. No, it did help. It did help.
So
well,
Joel is working whatever you're doing.
Yes. Well, the other thing it really helped with is it helped you learn how to become the kind of MC the Comedy Castle wants to get gigs at the Comedy Castle.
It's gonna get loud, so I'm just pointing this way. Okay. Now, one thing I did want to ask you is like, so this is his neutral face, which makes you look like an angry old man.
Yeah.
Like, I love like one of your opening jokes is like, this is what I look like. I don't want to tell him because that might ruin it. But like, it is, like, you don't look like a comedian. Like, you don't walk around with this happy smile on your face.
I have been told that. I've walked into, I mean, that bit you're talking about, I walked into a restaurant, we were doing a show in Indiana, Mishawaka, Indiana, and the waitress was like, you don't look funny.
Yeah. It's like, you're not here for the comedy show, are you?
Yeah. I'm a comic. Really? Because you don't look funny.
One thing I tell on stage is like, this really did happen. I was setting up for like a show. I was in like a mic check, and then like over the PA system, it was at like a bowling alley, I think. Over the PA system, I heard like, hey, so the computer guy's on stage. Where's the comedian at?
Did they really see that?
They said that, yeah.
So that's where your bit comes from.
And that's where, that's where it originates.
Yeah.
Because like for a second I was like, oh, who is that? And I'm like, oh, I'm the guy.
I'm the guy, right?
And that's when I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I think only some like messed up human beings like us can listen to like an insult, and it's like, oh, this would be hilarious on stage.
Well, I've used a lot. I've done a lot of things. I've walked out and said, okay, who called for a manager? I walked out on stage and did that. I've said, I'm not a comic, I'm just a health inspector waiting for my envelope from the bartender.
You do look like that, holy crap.
So, I don't look like,
a comedian?
I get it,
There are certain people, like, have you met Aaron White?
Yeah, I know Aaron White.
He looks like a comedian.
Yeah.
Well, he looks like a chameleon.
Yeah.
He could be a lot.
Yeah, he looks funny. Yeah, I don't know.
But even like, so, I mean, I think I just have like a younger, like, looking face, so no one approaches me like, you don't look like what you do.
Right.
I get that a little bit, but you get that a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's the face you were given. You just make jokes about it and work with it. That's what.
Oh yeah, you incorporate it into your act and it works.
I mean, owning what you are is, to me, an important part of stand-up comedy. I mean, you're doing the same thing. You're not owning what you are necessarily, but owning kind of what people think you are. I think is part of it too. And then the perception that they have.
You have. Yeah, like how do you come up with your ideas for jokes? Because you talk about a lot of stuff. I almost always talk about like just growing up and like my family, like my mom and sister, and just like life. Like you talk about like stuff that's happening in the world.
Well, I try to, but not always. I mean, it's a lot harder to do topical material. One, because it doesn't stay fresh, and two, because audiences are so divided politically, it's really dicey. So I don't do a lot that I would consider that topical. I kind of integrate it into my personal stuff.
You don't do political comedy, though.
Right, I know. I mean, I think it works its way. You can tell what my slant is sometimes from the jokes I tell.
Yeah,
but I don't overtly do a political joke, really.
Really, you don't get it on stage and you're like, oh, those Republicans. Like,
no, the only one I've ever done is I had one I did where I said,
you were Trump's cousin?
No, I said my problem with Trump being president is I look like I voted for him. And that's how it starts with that. So, and then I kind of go into, riff on that. But,
you do look like it.
Well, yeah, of course I do. Yeah, I totally look like it. Yeah, no, I was at Max one night in Lansing. I was waiting to go up. And it just dawned on me, oh my God, the biggest problem with Trump is I look like I voted for him. I just walked out and said it. And if they liked it, they loved it.
Yeah.
That's, at that room, that's a perfect thing to say. And so I tagged it with a couple of things, and but I don't do that joke too much. Anymore.
I have one, I only used Trump's name once ever my entire set. We were remember your show at Oxford?
Yeah.
That was a party.
Yeah.
Because I didn't talk crap about him. Yeah. I just said he came from Russia, which he did. It's almost like he flew to the country, he came back, he had a meeting there. I was like, I didn't say my viewpoint on him.
Yeah, but the implicit suggestion was
exactly,
corrupted by the Russians, which of course he was, but they didn't want to hear that in Oxford, so.
No, because when I did that, literally I was ready and go. They were like, ooh.
Well, I mean, we've done that show for almost 3 years, and we have run it, the couple of times we floated something political out, we got that back, so we understand that, and that's the thing. I don't do much overtly political, but that does work its way in. And I don't know. I mean, if I see anything that kind of triggers me into thinking that something is significant, or it's either my personal life, or sometimes it's more social events. Like there's a thing I do about the kids. It started with the kids in the Parkland shooting. How they were all on the TV and making these great speeches, and they're passionate and persuasive, and I turned it into a bit about what I wish they would talk about, which is...
Oh gosh.
And I don't want to ruin I'm not giving away my whole set.
No, that premise is already, there's some stuff coming after that.
Yeah, so, so I do work things like that in to some extent. And sometimes, I will work a thing in because I'm I know it has a short shelf life, but I really like it. I'm just I'm going to ride it out and I'll get rid of it if I have to. I do some of that.
I never thought about that. Yeah, you can't talk about current events because they're not current forever.
Well, and it's way worse now than it used to be. Okay, because the 24-hour news cycle, the internet. As soon as anything happens on the internet, 2 million comics are climbing all over each other to have the best joke on Twitter or Facebook. So it's pretty.
And Dave Chappelle always wins.
Yeah, and Dave Chappelle will win. Yeah. So.
But how do you when you are looking at current events? Because look at me. I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's how do you determine what is significant enough to be said on stage versus something that's people are gonna forget about this in a day?
I don't know. I have one of the books I bought about comedy writing early on. It's called The Comedy Bible.
This book has shown up on this podcast, so
and it's got a basic. And I just had a way to think about it. It made sense to me. And the idea was if there's a subject that is weird, scary, hard, or stupid. Weird, scary, hard, or stupid. Then that's something that can serve as a decent premise. And I don't know.
What is not a decent premise?
Well, something that's just uninteresting, I guess. That's not.
But that's what I'm saying. Not interesting to you.
Well, I mean, look. Ultimately, there has to be an overlap between
you
what I think is and what the audience is, or not, it won't work. And one of the biggest challenges in stand-up comedy is finding where you and the audience overlap. I mean, if you just write stuff that makes you laugh like hell and the audience never likes it, then you're not going to go anywhere. It's only so much you can do about it. I would never write just to pander to the audience, but when I do write, I will ultimately filter out my material by looking for where there's some overlap between what I like and what the audience is interested in. I will do that.
Because one thing that I've noticed is if I don't laugh at the joke that I'm writing, I don't tell it on stage.
Yeah, well that makes sense. I mean, if you don't think it's funny, you're never gonna sell a joke, or it's never gonna.
Yeah, because I don't have the confidence to do it. Because I've had people have been nice enough to hey, we think this joke would work for you.
Right.
And I'm reading it and I was like, I would never say that. It's funny, but I would never say that.
Right. And then it's not authentic. And
that's the biggest problem.
Kiss of death. Not being authentic is a kiss of death. You can't do that. So that makes sense. So I don't know. There's just a lot of wacky shit that goes on in the world right now. So there's no shortage of stuff to.
Oh yeah, I think comedy right now is it's booming. And also, comedy is so new. The stand-up comedy as an art form it's not even 100 years old.
No, it's not, and it's
like in its popularity. Like I'm sure it existed.
No,
but people didn't like know. Like who was the first? Like Richard Pryor, like Kinnison.
No, there were stand-up comics before those.
I know, but like before them, like was it like widely known?
It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was widely known. There was there were circuits. Okay, like in the black circuit was they called the Chitlin Circuit in the South. There was the Jewish circuit in the Catskill Mountains that had all these resorts, and there were older comics from the.
Okay, you know 40s. More than I do. Holy crap!
Well, I'm a little older. And there were comics at least going back to like the 40s that I think did stand up, but it evolved and. It's exponentially grown in terms of how many people want to do it and how many outlets there are for it in the last, I would say, 20 years. Like, you know.
Is that when did you start doing stand-up?
Just 5 years ago.
Oh, really? That's it? Oh, I believe you did. So why? Why did you do this to yourself?
It was a long-held ambition that I couldn't get around to because of other personal commitments and obligations, and finally I got a chance. I saw that they had this class in Comedy Castle that Bill Bushard teaches, and I thought, well, that's a nice way to kind of, you know, just wade into the water and see how it is. And so I did it, you know, and then, you know, and I love it, and now I can't stop. It's addictive, so I can't.
It's very addictive, isn't it?
Super addictive.
Like I know Patton Oswalt, he had his Netflix special a while ago, and he discussed like. People don't really like, cause like when you're in the audience and you're looking at it, it's, if you see someone who's not doing well, they're like, "Why would you do that again?" Because it's like a high. Like
yeah, you're chasing the dragon. You know, once you
every single time.
Once you get the laugh from the audience, you're like, "Oh, I want that again." You know?
Whatever it is, man. Like, and he also said like these are like Patton Oswalt's words. I completely agree with him too. By the way, it's like when you first start it, it consumes the first few years of your life.
Yeah.
Like that's all you think about.
Yeah, and I'd still say that's pretty close for me right now. But yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, like he said the first like 2 to 3 years, like there's nothing else on your mind. Like you just like it's like the world is out there, but then you have your own world that's like I need to do better at this.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, the only way you can suffer the repeated degradation that comes with stand-up comedy is if you're so addicted to it you can't stop. I mean, a lot of times people that succeed, the people that succeed because they can't stop. They succeed because they can't stop. Like no reasonable person would, you know, bomb 5 times in bowling alleys and then say, "Oh, this looks good. Let me go do this again." Like it's just not, you know. So I think the addictive nature of it is what gets people to the point where they get great and big because it's like. You just go through so much bad shit.
Yeah, maybe that's a misconception. Like, no one starts off killing.
I mean, there's people who are
we talked
uncommonly and annoyingly good.
We talked about that after the show at Oxford. He was like, Steve was like telling me there are new comics and they're so good and I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I respect them, but I hate them.
Right, it's a good thing, but like, go to hell. Like, I completely understand.
Yeah, no, so there's, you see that, you see some.
But I don't think that it's gonna, because this is where like we might disagree, because I don't think they're gonna last.
Well, it depends. If they're just gonna ride their natural ability and not work, then they won't. But if they are addicted to it or have that passion for it, that's the positive way to say it, and then they work it, then they will. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody is so good that they can come in and just not do the work and then be great and succeed. You know, they're going to have to write. They're going to have to come up with new viewpoints. They're going to have to get on stage a lot, and you know, and sometimes they're going to eat shit because I don't care how good you are, you will run into an audience for whom you are not their cup of tea. So
I know exactly. You know, what that's like.
I mean, because people are very different in their tastes, and the country is so polarized and split in so many.
I know that's why I don't do political comedy, because like the moment you even mention like anything political, like the audience like split right down like the half. Right.
It's not just that. That's an easy divide. That's a hard. But there's other ones like, you know, between darker comedy and lighter comedy. Some people like really silly stuff. I don't do that. You know, and so I run into trouble in those rooms. I mean, I don't think comedy is a victimless crime. There's somebody, you know, in any good joke who's the victim. Some people don't like that.
In every joke, there's a little bit of truth.
Yeah.
In every joke, there's a little bit of truth in every joke.
Yeah, that too. But so, and so you find audiences that don't go for that, or the things that you grew up with that bother you are things they like.
You know? Because they grew up with some crap too.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I have a bit. I haven't done it in a while about square dancing because I went to a square dancing.
I think I remember
this.
this.
It annoyed me, and I went. But I've told it to rooms, and I'm like, oh, you people really like square dancing. This was
that's how old he is. He went to square dancing parties.
Yeah,
square dancing parties, people.
Square. Yeah, I went to one, by the way. Let's not pluralize that. But
I never even like I've been square dancing like when I was in like 5th grade for camp,
right.
and then I'm just like, what are we doing? Like I was like, is this it? Like, is this what are we doing here?
Well, I mean, I do a few jokes about let's say the southern roots of square dancing.
Oh, good Lord.
And some of the audience members don't go for that, especially in Michigan where we have people who come from the South sometimes. So anyway,
we got a good blend in Michigan though.
You can split the room on a number of different ways.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be political.
Or some people hate like really clever wordplay, no matter what. They're just gonna not like it, And there's some comics that are really good at it, but some people don't like it. So.
One of the things too, like I want to like I like how like when you do your comedy, like I feel like we're similar in the sense that like we're not bouncing off the wall. Mm-hmm. Like we're actually like doing it like because there's certain comedians who like they're like jumping up and down, and they're like dancing and stuff like that. Whereas like you and I are like we're usually in one place. Like we'll shift side to side. We'll have some hand motions, but in general, like I'm not like my feet are on the ground at all times.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's times where there's physical comics who rely on their physicality and
sometimes it adds value to your material. Like I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying it's very much so works.
But if you're just burning nervous energy aimlessly and it doesn't connect to the material or serve any real purpose, then yeah, it can just be distracting, I think, at times. So also,
you don't cuss very much.
I do some, but I only do it if I need it. I mean, I try. Well, first of all, I'm always trying to write cleaner because writing clean and funny is, to me, the biggest challenge.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, okay, I do the same thing for that reason.
And it's not just because like I want to work in environments where I could do that. I'm not trying to be a church comic. It's because of the challenge of it. Like I'm in.
No, he will not be a church comic. I'm telling you that right now.
Why is the church burning down all of a sudden? Oh, Steve's in here. So it's not because of that. It's because it's so challenging that I want it to be able to do it, and I'm really, really impressed by
engineer people over here looking for challenges.
Well, I mean, I think it's somebody like Nate Bargatze. I was really so blown away when I saw him. I mean, he's so clean and so funny at the same time. And
but you don't like, even throughout this whole thing, like you didn't really swear when we were talking, because you don't see us swearing during regular speech.
I try not to do it.
At least like when we talk, I don't
try not to do it gratuitously. I mean, if I need it once in a while, it works. But yeah, some people use the word fuck like it's
in every other
verbal
word,
tick, instead of like and it's just it's distracting.
Right. Some people will use filler words like but they're just like fuck and fuck. I'm like, it's not like because I don't usually swear like in my regular speech. So when I'm writing, I just don't cuss. Yeah. But like that's just a consequence of like how I usually behave around other people. There are certain times in my set where like it makes sense to swear.
And that's how
because it actually adds value to the joke.
Exactly. I think that's if it seems like it adds value. Sometimes it's the right word. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have a couple jokes where there is a well-placed fuck, and I like that's the right word. That's why
sometimes it makes sense. Like when you like the one that I talk about, like my dog, like he's half Jack Russell, half Shih Tzu. We call him Jack Shit.
Right.
And that makes sense to swear in that case, right?
Yeah. Or sometimes though the emotion is just such that. At that point,
that's okay. Even like when it comes to like music too, I have this whole thing about music where it's like I would rather listen to like the explicit version that the artist wanted me to hear, than the clean version that like they like got rid of some of. Because like sometimes when you say fuck, it's like bro, fuck. Like right, sometimes you want to emphasize like the situation you're describing, which makes sense. But I think it's like a depreciating asset. Like the more you use it, the less value it becomes.
Well, obviously,
unless you're Joey Diaz, then you can just do whatever you want. It's hilarious.
Because the whole point of using a word like that is that it has some kind of shock and surprise value.
Exactly.
But if it comes out of your mouth 25 times, how surprised are you on time number 25? Like you're like, oh, okay, said it again.
It's a depreciating asset. It doesn't gain value the more you use it.
Right. So I don't know. I just try to be strategic about what I do with it. And if I need it, and I swear probably more than you've seen in my ordinary life. But I'm no one. It's not my experience that people go, wow,
I swear.
I don't think people go, wow, you're smart because you swear all the time. Like, so I don't like.
Is that true?
The point of it. What?
I've heard that, but I don't think that's true. It's like the more someone swears, the smarter they are. Like, is that real?
No, I was being sarcastic. It's obvious.
Okay, no, because
it's obvious.
oh, it is. Okay, because dude, no, you know how many times I've seen that like ad on Facebook, and I was like, is this real, or is it just like someone trying to glorify themselves?
My point was, I've never gotten the idea that you're going to impress somebody by swearing more.
Yeah.
If you're smarter by swearing more.
That's our time.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
That's all.
Bro, it passes by that fast.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Anything like social media or anything, like anything you want to shout out, let them know.
Oh, my Twitter is at Stephen R. Hansen. That's Stephen with a V, Hansen with an E. Instagram, Steve Hansen 123. I have a website at stevehansencomedy.com. And my Facebook is also Steve Hansen Comedy. So check me out at all those places.
Yep, it's all gonna be in the link in the description below. So if you want to like find him, stalk him like I do, it's all gonna be there available for you.
All my shows are on the website. So.
Perfect. Thank you guys for watching. Stay fresh, stay golden.